right now, and that is Premier Surgery Center. I'm not sure who all we have, but I think we have Alex, Danny, and Tina right now. Yes. So let's bring them on. And Tiffany. Tiffany has Hey, Tiffany Brock is the CEO of Premier Surgery Center. Alex, Danny, and Tina work with her. And I know that Tiffany, I think, got books for all of her leadership staff. So thank you, Tiffany. So I don't know who wants to field this first one, but please tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, and the challenges that you were facing during the pandemic. Maybe that one's for Tiffany.
Okay, sure. So we are an outpatient surgery center. We deal with elective surgeries. So when the pandemic hit, we were forced to shut down for about 3 months. We were only doing maybe 5 cases a week if we were lucky. So a lot of our teammates were at home for that 3 months. Getting 60% of their pay, which our company was able to do, but still it's not enough for the bills that they're forced to still pay during those 3 months, and all the stress that came along with that, and childcare and homeschooling, and so it was very stressful for not only us but for the teammates as well.
So maybe so you how did you get a hold of Rita? And then let's maybe hear from some of the team members, because I know you talked to every single person at that company about how Rita was able to help you kind of grab that culture back.
Absolutely. So after the teammates returned, it was we noticed how bad morale was. Everyone was worried about COVID getting exposed and bringing it back to their families. They were worried about homeschooling and who's going to teach my kids when I'm being forced to go back to work, but the schools aren't open and daycares are closed and there's nowhere to turn. And so they were being pulled in all different directions, balancing finances and family obligations and those kind of things. And on top of that, COVID policies were changing daily, so their heads were spinning, what is it today? Or what are we supposed to do today? If I'm exposed, what do I do? And am I bringing this back to my family? So it was very stressful. So we as a leadership team were trying to be proactive and communicate and just trying to make them feel a little bit better about the things at work that we could. But we just felt like we had hit a wall and we were going nowhere.
We were exhausted.
We were mentally, emotionally exhausted, and so were they. And at that point, I looked at the team and I'm like, we need help. We cannot do this by ourselves. And so we reached out. One of our CRNAs knew someone that was in the field of like helping turn cultures around. And we reached out to her, but she had moved, but she knew Rita. And so she gave us Rita's contact information, and it was the best connection networking of our life. It really changed us around.
Amazing.
I would love for whether Danny, Alex, or Tina to talk about that very first all-employee meeting that we had in the front of the building with everybody. Do you guys remember that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So tell people a little bit, because we didn't talk about that the first time,
right?
But I think it's important to understand that even though this takes time, the impact is instantaneous. Would you guys agree?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think
walk us through that first meeting a little bit.
What Rita wanted us to focus on and the teammates to focus on is gratitude, not just for the company, for Premier, but for each other. And I think they had forgotten about that. So I think that was very powerful for them to have gratitude towards each other. And then everything was tied back to our values. She actually wanted to know all of our values, and she had this big piece of paper with each value and what it meant to each teammate. And I thought that was very impactful as well.
And we told the history of the surgery center, where we came from, where we had been, and where we wanted to go. And I was a newer teammate at that point, and I learned a lot, and we all learned a lot about each other. Mm-hmm. That the pandemic had, kind of separated all of us and put us in our own little silos, and how are we going to figure out, where we're going to go and how we're going to get through this. And that's kind of helped us all come together and, interact with each other and talk about, ideal state. What does that look like? And how are we going to get there? So it was great.
Didn't you discover something surprising during this process? Like you had made these assumptions about culture, and when you really went to the employees, what did you discover there?
Well, to me, it was striking, and I think you guys might agree that you think employees are concerned about the really big things, and they were about hours and pay and taking care of their families. But when I asked them, because I interviewed every employee that was willing to talk to me, and I said, what's something that is important to you that we could do immediately that would have significant impact on helping us get back to that place that we used to be? What they said was they wanted their pitch-ins back. And pitch-ins are when every employee makes a dish or buys some food and they set it all up in the break room and they have lunch together and everybody shares. And of course, with COVID, we weren't sharing food.
Right.
And so there was a significant health reason not to do it, but that's what they wanted. That little signal of belonging was so important to them. Do you guys remember those conversations?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, because we were like, it's that simple.
Right.
It kind of did. It made you think, really? But then I read, and I remember telling you about this book, Tiffany, right as we were having those conversations. I found a book called The Power of Moments, which I just can't say enough good things about that book. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. And that's exactly what that book is about. It is about those little moments that just really capture people's hearts and minds.
And that's not surprising when you think about it. Like, we all connect over a meal or a shared experience or something like that. So that's amazing. So it sounds